This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
All right, right now the Tennessee Titans are gaining a lot of traction amongst many fans and analysts as possible breakthrough side in 2024.
When you've got a young quarterback who you are trying to evaluate to see what his ceiling is.
It's the Callahan family.
He's got that inclination to run the ball. And remember last year at some point Vrabel had to show him video of all the quarterbacks getting blown up by being a little too stubborn with their efforts to run the football when maybe they should have just hit the deck or gotten out of bounds. So you want to keep Will Levis healthy so we can just see what he had.
Will Levis showed something in his rookie season, leading some to pick the Titans as an underrated sleeper pick in an already stacked AFC. That hype, though, is completely misplaced. Tennessee is just honestly a completely distant competitor in their division, has an underwhelming quarterback in place, and is the destination where I think careers go to absolutely die. And this is why the Will Levis hype is all fake. All right, now after that big dramatic intro, I don't want to say that the Titans are as bad as, say, of a dumpster fire of the Panthers or even the Giants are, but they're still not that great that everybody's making them to be. There have been some exciting additions in Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed.
Sources say the Tennessee Titans are signing Jaguar star receiver Calvin Ridley. Listen to this massive deal. 4 years, $92 million for Calvin Ridley, $50 million fully guaranteed in this deal, negotiated by David Mulugheta and Reza Azam of Athletes First. Calvin Ridley turns 30 this season.
But the hype definitely seems overblown for a team in a tough division that went 6-11 last year and is moving forward with an unproven quarterback and a rookie head coach in Brian Callahan. So I mean, honestly, it got me wondering, where is all of this hype coming from? Because besides JJ McCarthy and maybe a little bit of Justin Fields talk right now, everybody, just like last year, we did it with Kenny Pickett, and I think everybody's doing it again with Will Levis, is they're hyping him up. But where's it coming from? And I mean, like, if we go back to last year, most notably, they flashed some potential in a few statement wins last year, including a stunning late Monday Night Football victory over the Miami Dolphins, which saw 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes to give the Titans an incredible 28-27 win out of just nowhere.
14-point lead with 3 minutes left, and the rookie Will Levis and his muscles lead 2 back-to-back 2-minute drills. Go 3 and out.
Yeah, he working out.
3 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, he working out though. Yeah, we be listening.
And it was even more satisfying 1 week later when somehow they managed to beat their division rivals, the Jacksonville Jaguars, in a Week 18 victory. In what turned out to be Mike Vrabel's final game as the Titans head coach, the team pulled off a 28-20 upset win over their rivals from Duval County, finishing off a historic collapse from the Jaguars and finally eliminating the Jags from playoff contention. And while the Titans were anything really but exciting last year, games like this did manage to show some of the potential that they did have. Even if there were some pretty rough losses along the way. But so much of the hope and hype from fans in Tennessee this offseason comes from the man under center, 25-year-old Will Levis, entering his second year in the league. As we all know, the mayo-eating coffee guy, Levis, has started 9 games for the team last year, going 3-6 along the way. He was inconsistent, but Titans fans will point to his 4-touchdown game on his pro debut against Atlanta as a prime example of what he is capable of in the big leagues. But now, if we're going to take that approach, then every Bears fan that wanted to keep Justin Fields, who is just a really good running back that can throw the ball really far, would just refer back to the Commanders game last year when he looked like John Elway in his prime, throwing for like 4 touchdowns. But instead, the Bears went and got Caleb Williams. And now look, I know that the fans of the Titans are really going to be hoping that he can become the new face of Nashville, but is he actually going to be able to do that? And honestly, as we all know, the jury is completely still out on Will Levis and really just how good he is. I know we can't completely write him off just yet because we haven't really done the same for Bryce Young yet because it's only both of them, I guess, their second years. But so far, he's just proving such a tough guy and just a tough quarterback to trust the ball in his hands with. The dude's got the arm strength and he's got the arm talent, but his decision making is it's sketchy at best. Last year, he only threw 4 interceptions to go along with his 8 touchdowns, but honestly, only good fortune stopped that figure from being a lot higher. According to PFF, Levis's turnover-worthy play percentage of 4.5% was 3rd worst, behind only Mac Jones and Desmond Ridder. And I know being confident in your own ability, that's totally fine. If you're Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, that's even better. That's great because of how good those guys are. But for Will Levis, at this point in his career, if he's going to try and do stuff that those guys are doing, he's going to create more problems than solve them at this point. Like, I mean, just a week after that tremendous debut against the Falcons, Levis's second NFL start ended with a disastrous final drive interception against Pittsburgh, which handed the Titans an L in a game that they had every chance of winning, especially considering the opposing quarterback was Kenny Pickett of all quarterbacks. Like, plays like this raise plenty of questions about Levis. Will he learn from his mistakes? Will new head coach Brian Callahan iron out these errors of him? Or will he be a complete boomer bust quarterback for his time in the league and become the next Jameis Winston? Even though he'll never be as funny as Jameis Winston.
How did the defense in the running game give overall shape to the way this played out, Jameis?
Well, I just think we were prepared. You know, one thing my trainer, he told me, he said, what did he say? He just told us to be prepared.
Like, look, all NFL fans are familiar with the sophomore slump. Like, I think we've all seen it before with like guys like Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, all of those guys who have really exciting rookie first years, and then they cannot repeat it their following season after. Like, I mean, sometimes a sophomore slump is just a result of the rest of the league figuring out the play style of the quarterback and making adjustments to the tape that they already have on him. It can also be effort related if a player doesn't keep up the same work rate that made him successful initially, which is a surefire way to fail in the NFL. Throughout history, there have been plenty of these in the league, most recently Patriots quarterback Mac Jones, who looked fairly impressive in his rookie 2021 season and was comfortably the best in his class, winning the second most Offensive Rookie of the Year votes along the way. But as we all know, Jones's performances have hovered between bad and dreadful in the 2 years since, leading to New England trading him this offseason.
Traded for a 6th round pick to Jacksonville. That's the value of Mac Jones, a 6th round pick, and it was almost one of these deals which was like New England just wanted to just rid themselves of Mac, and I look at all the different things that he was dealt with.
A big part of this was the lack of playmakers at his disposal and the disastrous idea to put Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in charge of the offensive game planning, but Jones was also not free from all the guilt. For a risk-taking quarterback like Levis, the hope from Titans fans is that he ends up being the next Josh Allen. But it's also entirely possible that he'll be the next Mac Jones, particularly as he's facing a few of the common problems that often contribute to a young quarterback's career going south. For one, the Titans' offensive line was horrible last season.
Cause of death for the Titans this season.
One of the worst offensive lines in the NFL.
Man, this is going to be a consistent trend.
Yeah,
Jets,
it is.
Patriots, Titans.
It's actually, I think,
Giants.
rare where you get, a collection of teams, either good or bad, where everything sort of points in one direction. But basically, every team that's been eliminated so far is a terrible offensive line.
So you're going with the specific cause of death.
The Pro Football Focus ranking them dead last in the league, as they suffered the second worst sack percentage in the league, only behind the historically bad New York Giants. These issues have already affected Levis, who suffered a right foot injury following a sack in the Week 17 game against Houston, which saw him miss the season finale against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And look, I know that a lot of injuries are common in the NFL, but when you have a guy that you think has a bunch of potential like Will Levis, I almost said Mac Jones because of how bad I think he is, but of Will Levis, you need to do everything in your willpower to make sure that he stays upright and doesn't get hit with all of these big hits and just so he stays healthy. Luckily, they have gotten some reinforcements via the draft and free agency, but it remains to be seen whether this is a good unit. They will at least have the offensive line guru Bill Callahan to guide them, but the next concern for Levis is the potential beginning of a trend of constant chopping and changing of coaches. Most of the truly elite quarterbacks of the 21st century have benefited from having a steady head coach and offensive coordinator during their early years. When Levis was drafted in April of 2023, he would have been hoping that longtime Titans head coach Mike Vrabel would continue on for several years and that he would be working with OC Tim Kelly for the foreseeable future, allowing him to get to grips with the new offense he would quickly be in charge of. However, at the end of the last campaign, Vrabel was a surprising casualty of Black Monday and was fired by the Titans.
The Titans firing Mike Vrabel after 6 seasons, took the job in 2018, led the Titans to 4 consecutive winning seasons, including Coach of the Year honors back in 21.
This brought an end to a successful 6-year stint in Tennessee, which saw the Titans win 2 division titles, make an AFC championship game, and Vrabel himself win NFL Head Coach of the Year in 2021, having secured the 1 seed in the conference. Vrabel's firing, though, came at the end of a disappointing season, sure, but he clearly wasn't the only problem at the team and was working with a fairly mediocre squad in a changing quarterback situation, which made a 6-11 season about on par for the course. Regardless, the Titans front office moved on and appointed Brian Callahan, who had spent the previous 5 seasons as the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys know I had to come through for you, so use my sign up link in the description or pinned comment and get a sign up bonus of 125% up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. Callahan was one of the more sought-after coaches in this cycle, with many giving him substantial credit for the career development of Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Beyond this though, Callahan has been an offensive coach in the NFL for almost 15 years and had previously worked with Peyton Manning at the Broncos and Matthew Stafford at the Lions, suggesting that he knows a thing or two about coaching up top NFL quarterbacks. And now, while Callahan is an experienced coach, the fact of the matter is that he still is a rookie head coach, which isn't ideal for an aspiring young quarterback in Levis, especially when you consider that he wasn't even the play caller in Cincinnati under Zach Taylor. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, what is there to be that's just so cheerful about being a Titans fan this year in 2024? Well, the team was fairly proactive in free agency, with arguably the biggest addition being Calvin Ridley, who was an all-pro receiver 4 years ago for the Falcons before a gambling suspension derailed his career for a good year and a half. Ridley returned to the league last season and had a good year with the Jaguars, breaking 1,000 yards and picking up 8 touchdowns as Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. His arrival is definitely a major boost to this offense, whose only real receiving weapon last time out was the aging DeAndre Hopkins. The size of Ridley's $92 million contract did raise some eyebrows, as now he's going to have a lot more money to gamble. I mean, it's just getting paid a lot of money, which got a lot of question marks, but for a team in desperate need of new offensive firepower, that's just the price of doing business. The Titans also added former Bengal Tyler Boyd, who was a good second or third option behind the likes of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in an extremely stacked offense in Ohio. Clearly, his former OC Callahan feels that he had something to offer and has brought him in on a 1-year deal, adding depth as a wide receiver 3 behind Hopkins and Ridley. And while this does make that wide receiver unit at least a lot better than last year's team, it also makes them a lot older than last year's team. Like, I get Hopkins is obviously an all-time great, but it's impossible to get away from the fact that he's getting older and might not have too many years left of elite play in the tank. The same goes for Boyd, and by the end of this year, both men will be out of a contract, meaning Levis might have to deal with even more of an upheaval at the position sooner rather than later. In a positive step for the organization though, the team has made some moves to improve the woeful offensive line, mostly using the 7th overall pick in the draft to get J.C. Latham out of Alabama, as the Titans taking an offensive tackle is one of the most obvious picks in the draft, and securing a guy like Latham looks like a good business move, a huge presence on the line, and is regarded by many as the absolute lock to be successful in the league. The Titans also added Lloyd Cushenberry from the Broncos, which seems like a solid addition, with Cushenberry being a rare success story on the team in recent years and a constant presence with no real injury worries. Like, clearly we're going to need to see just how good these guys can be once they actually put pads on and go up against an opposing team to really see how good they're going to be, but for now we can at least say that this offensive unit, or just offensive line is what I should say, is going to be much better than last year's team. Finally, and I think one of the biggest hits of this team this year, was the Titans losing longtime running back and franchise legend Derrick Henry in free agency, who after 8 seasons, 9,500 rushing yards, and 90 touchdowns, he's going to go to Baltimore. And although he's a tough man to replace, the team moved quickly to tie down Tony Pollard on a 3-year deal. Pollard is coming off of back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons for the Dallas Cowboys, but his 2023 season saw him average just 4 yards a carry, the worst of his career so far. Only time will tell if this is just a bump in his career or if it suggests that the exciting young talent of Tyjae Spears will in fact be the leader of the stable. And I mean, look, despite all the additions that the Titans have made this year, they have to deal with the simple reality that they are sadly the 4th best team in that division. Like, I mean, look, the AFC South has now become just one of the best divisions in the NFL. As we all know, the Texans have undergone one of the quickest rebuilds in recent history, with CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans turning one of the league's worst teams into a genuine Super Bowl contender within the next 12 months. And I mean, with the likes of Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, Danielle Hunter, Al-Shaair joining this offseason, the Texans are easily the favorites for the South this time around. After that, we have the Jaguars, who have made their call to pay their starting quarterback Trevor Lawrence, who has at times shown to be a top player in the league. And although they did have a historic collapse last season, they'll still be a good place to challenge for the playoffs again this season, especially if Lawrence can get hot again. And I mean, finally, we just did a video on them. There's the Indianapolis Colts, who surprised many by going 9-8 last year, despite missing their starting quarterback Anthony Richardson for almost the full season. Like, I mean, if Richardson can stay healthy and the Colts can get the best out of his incredible rushing ability, then they will also be a tough nut to crack for Tennessee. The ultimate proof of Tennessee's lowly standing in the AFC South is their 1-5 record within the division last season, with that Week 18 shock over the Jaguars being their only success in 6 attempts. Like, I mean, even if you do buy into this Titans hype right now, which I personally do not, it's really hard to even see them as a playoff team over those 3 teams that they have in their division. And then when you look at their schedule too, it sees them play the Packers, Bills, Lions, Dolphins, and Bengals across 18 grueling weeks. I just don't see how they are going to manage and be a playoff team or just a good team this year. And I think it's really true that the Titans hype is really overrated right now. But I want to know what you guys think. How good do you think the Tennessee Titans are going to be? Personally, for me, as I just stated in this video, I really don't think they're going to be that good. I think they're going to be like, I think it's just going to be a repeat of last year. They're going to be like 6-11, somehow pull some wins out of their butt, which is just going to be crazy when they beat like the Texans in week 17 or whatever when they play. And everybody's like, oh, Will Levis is the greatest again. No, I don't think he's going to be good, but also he could just completely prove me wrong this year. But I want to know what you guys think. How good are they? Should they have kept Vrabel around, or should they have moved on from him too? That's kind of a shocking thing that nobody saw coming too. But as always, if you guys have not, make sure you join my Discord. That is where we are doing all of our things for the football season this year. Pick 'em pools, giveaways, dynasty drafts, all of those things we are doing in there. So make sure you join up there. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.